Hello everyone and welcome to my Soap Twist 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Between them, Liam placed the box on the coffee table, the velvet thudding gently like a gavel against the wood. He muttered, "Say it again," as though saying it again would change the truth. Hope was unable to. Her tongue felt useless and bloated. In an instinctive defense against the life growing inside of her that had already cost her everything, she put both palms to her stomach. An hour before, when he still thought tonight would end with her saying yes, Liam had lit a vanilla candle, and the cabin smelled of pine. The sweetness now became smothering and cloying. In the Forrester kitchen across town, Brooke was slicing lemons for iced tea that she had decided she no longer wanted. Her thumb was nicked by the slipping knife, and the sting was hardly noticeable. She had heard Ridge talking on the phone about Thomas, a test, and Hope. Although the information was incomplete, mothers can sense earthquakes without complete sentences. Without taking off her silk shirt, she covered the wound with a paper towel and drove to the cabin, the blood leaking through in a perfect circle the color of treachery. Before the knock, Hope could hear the tires hitting gravel. Liam knew that knock, and his shoulders tensed. Brooke came in like the weather, never waiting for a response. She was standing there with her hair blown back and her eyes wild with a panic that Hope knew was real since it now resided in her own chest. As Brooke put it, "Tell me it's not true." There was no question. At last, Hope's tears fell. Liam was the first to move, putting himself between mother and daughter like a referee who had already lost control of the altercation. "I wish I could." Brooke's voice snapped like a whip. "Maybe give us." "No. She can no longer hide behind you." She took a close look at Hope and saw the girl who had pleaded for rides on a horse, now bearing a future she had not chosen. Brooke hadn't realized the paper towel encircling her thumb had soaked through. "You've known for how long?" Hope's whisper barely made it over the 6 feet separating them. 3 weeks. Liam winced like he had been smacked. 3 weeks. She kept this secret coiled inside her like a serpent for 21 mornings when she kissed him goodbye and 21 evenings when she nestled up against his side. He felt the ground shift as he remembered the pregnant medications he had discovered in her purse and had misidentified as Brooke's. Brooke's knees gave out. She grabbed the door frame. "Thomas," she murmured, the name tasting like poison. "After all that he endured for you. The manipulation, the lies. It wasn't like that this time," Hope claimed, but even she found the defense to be flimsy. She recalled the evening of the incident. Paris, Fashion Week, excessive champagne consumption, and Thomas's tongue on her neck, muttering his regrets for all of his transgressions. She had hoped that individuals could change. She had desired to experience something different from the gradual suffocation of her ideal life with Liam. One error. One evening. All of their futures had been altered by a single moment of weakness. Liam let out a laugh that was devoid of humor. "This time," he said again. Hope was unable to look him in the eyes. "Because there were other times. I broke up with him. You were my choice." "I've always picked you," Liam said, "except when you didn't." His voice cracked. The boy who used to build sandcastles with her on the beach and promise forever before either of them realized what forever cost suddenly had a youthful appearance. You choose him that evening. And now, unable to say the word baby out loud, he made a vague gesture toward her stomach. Taking 3 steps across the room, Brooke drew Hope into her embrace. After a half-second of resistance, Hope broke down and sobbed into her mother's shoulder as if she were 6 again and the world had scraped her knee. Whispering meaningless consolation that did nothing to halt the bleeding, Brooke held her closer than she has when Hope first learned to ride a bike. Liam felt the proposal ring burning a hole in his pocket as he watched them, the family he had nearly had. Steffi had teased him about going traditional, so he had chosen it with her. It was round cut and white gold, just like Hope had stated she wanted at 17. Steffi was aware. She had, of course. The Forresters knew all the time. Even though the door was already open, he said, "I need air." The cold pierced through his shirt as he stepped out onto the porch. Behind him, Brooke's voice wavered between anger, grief, and the specific destruction of a mother witnessing her child make the same mistake she had. Leaning over the railing, Liam gazed out at the water until it became indistinct. He considered phoning his father, Wyatt, or anybody else who could give him advice on how to stop loving someone. Nobody answered. Hope withdrew from Brooke's grip inside. The mascara streaked like battle paint across her blotchy face. I didn't intend for this to occur, Brooke remarked. Babies rarely arrive with intentions. She put her thumb to Hope's cheek, removing a tear that was quickly restored. With a teary, weak laugh, Hope said, "But they come anyway. In my dreams, I would reveal my pregnancy to Liam. He would cry joyful tears when Kelly and Beth were playing in the garden." Her voice broke. Brooke angrily retorted, "You didn't ruin Beth. I ruined everything. Or Kelly. Or this youngster." "Hope, mistakes don't mean the end of the story." "They seem like it." Brooke looked to the porch, where Liam's silhouette stood out against the fading light. "He'll change his mind. Or he won't. But lying gives you the right to decide that for him." "I wasn't lying. I was waiting for the right time." "This isn't the proper time." Brooke's eyes filled. She reflected on Bridget and the secrets that had almost brought them all to ruin. Hope shook her head, saying, "I should have taught you better. I learned to believe in love from you. In pardoning. In second opportunities." The name hung between them like fog. I got them mixed up with Thomas." Brooke shut her eyes. Had she not forgiven Thomas for worse? But when her daughter's heart was on the altar, forgiveness seemed different. The windows were scoured by headlights. Thomas's vehicle. He would arrive, of course. Hope had sent a brief text. "We must speak. Right now." She hadn't anticipated that he would drive directly from the airport while still sporting the Milan show shirt. As family members do when they forget they might not be welcome, he entered without knocking. First he looked at Hope, then at the ring box on the table, and finally at Liam on the porch. The air grew heavier. "Wishes?" Thomas's voice was gritty from travel and another emotion, such as fear or hope. With one hand remaining on her stomach, she gently stood up. As a soldier receiving orders, Thomas nodded once and said, "I told them." He glanced at Brooke's teary face, then at Liam's back, and lastly at Hope. "I apologize," he said. Maybe just to her, but to all of them. Then Liam turned. Years of history were bouncing back and forth between the two guys as they gazed at one another across the room. Liam was the first to speak. "You're not allowed to apologize. You get to have a child." Thomas swallowed. "That's the deal now." "I am aware." "Are you?" Liam entered and shut the door with a gentle click that seemed to be the last one. Because fatherhood is more than just biology. It entails being there when it's difficult. She is crying at 3 a.m, due to the infant's inability to quit. When the child inquires as to why mommy and daddy do not share a home. Are you prepared for that? Thomas didn't avert his gaze. Hope's breath caught as she said, "I've been ready since the day she told me." She recalled that day, Thomas at the design studio, his face turning pale as she gave him the pregnancy test, designs all over the place like confetti. On the wooden floor, he had bent down and placed his forehead to her tummy as if he were listening for a faint heartbeat. He had muttered, "Ours," and she had detested her need to believe him. Brooke watched the conversation with increasing discomfort. She noticed the way Thomas gazed at Hope, not with victory, but with a genuine passion that frightened her. She had already witnessed that expression on Ridge's face, Deacon's, and the faces of all the men who had promised her daughter everything and delivered fragments. Brooke said, "Liam, perhaps we should." "No." Liam's voice was abrasive. "This is what we're doing now. Everything." He turned to Thomas. "You wish to be involved with this child? All right. But you fail to understand her. No longer." Thomas's jaw tensed. "It's not your call," I said. Liam chuckled bitterly once more. 5 minutes ago, she wore my ring. Was she? Thomas glanced in Hope's direction. "Hope, were you? Or did you pretend the arithmetic added up when you carried my child while wearing his ring?" Hope winced. With the walls enclosing all of their past, every argument, every pardon, Every lie they had told themselves to maintain harmony. The room felt abruptly too small. She told Liam, "I love you," the words tearing at her throat. "I do. But this baby," Liam interrupted, "isn't a consolation prize." He picked up the ring box, opened it, and placed the diamond on the mantel above the fireplace, saying, "And neither am I." It was frigid and inaccessible, but it caught the light like a small star. "You know where to find me when you figure out what you want, Hope. Really want." He left. With the soft finality of a coffin lid, the door shut behind him. Hope's knees buckled as she fell onto the couch. She raised a hand, and Thomas shifted to kneel before her. "Don't." Brooke watched as her daughter embraced the life that had broken everything and curled into herself. She reflected on her own pregnancies. Hope was a miracle after so much sorrow. Rick was secret, and Bridget was born in pandemonium. Children simply grew in the cracks rather than fixing broken things. Liam's car began outside and drove off. Only the water and the weight of what lay ahead remained as the sound vanished into the night. Thomas remained kneeling. Silently, he whispered, "I'll wait." Hope did not respond, saying, "As long as it takes." The doctor had allowed her to hear the baby's heartbeat last week, and she was thinking about how powerful and quick it was, like a hummingbird stuck in her chest. She was thinking about how Liam used to draw circles on her back when she couldn't sleep, Kelly's sticky fingertips, and Beth's chuckle. She believed that love was a web in which every pull tore someone else, rather than a line connecting two people. Nobody drank the 3 glasses of water that Brooke had poured. She kept the third for herself, placed one in front of Hope, and placed another close to Thomas. Like tiny bells, the ice clinked. Brooke stated, "We'll work out the rest tomorrow. We just sit with it tonight." Hope gave a numb nod. This time, she allowed Thomas to hold her hand when he reached for it. He had sketched and built the life he had always desired with her, so his fingers were warm and calloused. She attempted to picture a time when this wouldn't feel like betrayal as she gazed at their clasped hands. The diamond gleamed unaltered on the mantel. Despite the hearts breaking on its beach, the ocean continued to move outside. Weeks went by in bits and pieces. Hope returned to the cabin because there were too many memories of the Forrester mansion and too many questions in Liam's eyes when they saw each other at the girls' drop-offs. She painted the second bedroom a gentle shade of yellow, which she didn't know was the color of hope. Every day after work, Thomas would come with a playlist of lullabies his mother used to sing, sketches of nursery furniture he had designed himself, and research on organic formulations. He didn't spend the night. Even he would not transgress some lines. Liam submitted a divorce petition. On a Tuesday, the documents arrived, neat and official. While Beth colored at the table while humming a cartoon theme, Hope signed them in the kitchen. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Beth offered a purple crayon and inquired. Hope kissed the top of her head and tasted salt, saying, "I'm just tired, sweetie." When the papers were finalized, Steffi arranged a small party with champagne, family, and a cake that read "New Beginnings." Hope was not invited. With one hand on her expanding tummy and the other on a chilly mug of tea, she watched the social media pictures from the comfort of her couch. At midnight, Thomas discovered her there with puffy eyes. He took the phone and said, "You don't have to look." He sat next to her without touching, saying, "I want to remember what I lost." "You didn't lose everything. The females are still with you." He pointed at her stomach and said, "You have. You have options." Hope chuckled with a sound akin to glass shattering. "Decisions." "Correct. Pick between the man who brought me order and the man who brought me anarchy. Pick between the family I unintentionally started and the one I created. Some choice." Thomas remained silent for a while. Then, "Hope, I'm not requesting that you pick me. I want you to make your own decision." The infant. She wanted to believe him, no matter what happened next. She really wanted to. However, each time she closed her eyes, she saw Liam's face at the very instant hope vanished from his eyes as the ring box closed. Every morning, Brooke arrived with groceries, gossip, and an unapologetically passionate love. She showed Hope how to swaddle a baby with one hand, bake Ridge's favorite lasagna, and cry in the shower without anybody hearing. One afternoon, while folding little onesies, Brooke remarked, "Your heart is big enough for all of them." Hope traced the little ducks on the fabric and said, "It just doesn't feel like it right now." What if it doesn't? After that, we pretend until it happens. Mothers do it. The infant kicked, thumping hard against her ribs. Without thinking, Hope pushed Thomas's hand to the place. Her chest ached as his eyes flared, and then relaxed. "Powerful," he whispered. Hope blurted out the words before she could stop them, like his dad. Thomas's smile was cautious and tiny. Or her mother. They did not share a kiss. They were not obliged to. Like the first green sprout following a wildfire, the moment seemed fresh and vulnerable. Liam resumed his dating life. Steffi's friend, a co-worker, ladies whose names Hope had learned from Beth's gossip about, Daddy's new friend who let me have 2 cookies. Nothing significant. Each story like a paper cut, superficial but painful. She waved farewell with a brightness that deceived no one, not even herself, and smiled throughout drop-offs. Hope woke up one night after 8 months with cramps that weren't Braxton Hicks. Now that she had made the habit of calling Thomas first, he arrived before the ambulance and held her hand while the paramedics placed her onto the stretcher. Still wearing slippers and with her hair in curlers, Brooke met them at the hospital. Liam showed there later, his eyes wild and his tie awry, but he saw that Hope was all right. The boy with Hope's obstinate chin and Thomas's black hair arrived quickly. They gave him the name Finn since they both loved the sound and didn't want to name him after anyone. Once, while Hope was sleeping in the hallway, Liam held him and wept silently. He had the opportunity, while Thomas observed from the doorway. It took a while to recover. Hope didn't realize some parts of her body hurt. Every 2 hours, Thomas would wake up from his nap on the couch to warm bottles, change diapers, and sing off-key lullabies that made Finn laugh. Brooke gave them the distance they needed, but hadn't requested by leaving before dinner with casseroles and counsel. Hope discovered Thomas on the porch one evening, gazing out to sea as Liam used to do. Inside, Finn slept with his hands curled like seashells. She settled next to him and remarked, "He looks like you." Thomas said in a gruff voice, "He has your eyes." Hope rested her head on his shoulder and said, "The way they see everything." Now the motion was as natural as breathing. She said, "I have no idea what we are." "Just we're parents," he remarked. A quiet cry echoed through the open window as Finn stirred inside, saying, "The rest, we figure it out as we go." There was yet hope, but Thomas was on the move. Something in her chest unclenched as she watched him carefully lift their son with the devotion of a father who had waited his entire life for this moment. Liam attended Beth's birthday celebration in the Forrester Garden, which had a princess theme. With a smile that fell short of his eyes, he carried a castle cake taller than the birthday girl. Because Beth was observing, Hope laughed at his jokes and wore yellow, the nursery's color. After the candles were extinguished, Liam drew Hope away. Silently, he replied, "I miss you. Not the mess." Hope's throat shut. "You. I also miss you. But now we're different." He nodded, his gaze fixed on Finn across the lawn in Thomas's arms. As usual, Liam kissed her cheek and stayed there long enough for her to smell his perfume. "He's good with him." "He is." She saw him drive off with Kelly, both girls waving from the car, and said, "Be happy, Hope." Finn slept on Thomas's chest when he joined her. "Are you all right?" he inquired. "No," she replied plainly. "But I will be." Hope discovered Thomas in the kitchen doing the dishes that evening after the girls had been put to bed and Finn had calmed, nursed, and burped. With her chin resting on his shoulder, she encircled him with her arms from behind. "This is my choice," she muttered. "Us." Regardless of how it appears, Thomas turned, suds on his hands, and gave her a question-like kiss. With all her remaining might, she responded. Outside, the ocean maintained its timeless, apathetic rhythm. For the first time, a broken, reconstructed, and flawed family slept under one roof. A remnant of an unrealized future, the diamond on the mantle accumulated dust. All their origins were contained within the nursery's yellow walls, which gleamed softly in the moonlight. Hope got up once during the night to see how Finn was doing. His small chest was rising and falling with regular respiration. Thomas watched them both from the doorway. "Return to your bed," she whispered. He walked across the room and kissed Finn's forehead first, then Hope's. In a minute, with tears welling up for the 1,000th time, Hope grinned and said, "I just like looking at my whole world in one place." These, however, were different, quieter, and perhaps infused with calm. Brooke would arrive in the morning with questions and coffee. When it came to pickup times, Liam would text. Life would continue to go on, cluttered and authentic. Hope, however, allowed herself to believe in second drafts for the time being, in the silence before morning. That bowed, but didn't break in love. In the tiny, ferocious heartbeat next to her, which somehow gave more despite having cost all. For the first time in months, she didn't fantasize about what she had lost when she closed her eyes. In her dreams, she saw lullabies, yellow walls, and a future that was big enough to accommodate all of their wounds. Brooke dabbed at her daughter's tear. Then she added, "We'll face it together." Hope nestled back into her mother, thankful for the safety, the warmth, and the one constant. One day at a time. Even as she lay there, though, she was aware that life as she had known it was no longer there. Some loves never go away. They just turn into ghosts. And some ends that are too difficult to express out loud give rise to new beginnings. Once more, with acceptance rather than excitement, she put her palm on her stomach. A fresh start has been made. Everything else would also need to start over. Even if it meant figuring out how to survive in a world without Liam at her side. Even if it meant venturing into uncharted territory. Even if it meant falling in love with something so brittle that it would shatter her again. Please leave a comment below with your thoughts if you would like to see the second part of this.